Far beyond the orbit of the outer planets, beyond the scattered ice and dust that mark the edge of our solar system, a small spacecraft drifts through an ocean of darkness. It has no destination. No crew. No hope of return. For nearly 50 years, Voyager 2 has traveled farther and farther from Earth, carrying humanity's curiosity into regions no human being has ever seen. Its instruments have aged. Some have fallen silent forever. Yet the spacecraft continues its journey, faithfully sending faint whispers back across billions of miles. Most people rarely think about it anymore. The world has changed countless times since Voyager left Earth. Entire generations have been born into a future that once seemed impossible. Technologies have risen and vanished. Nations have transformed. But Voyager continues onward, a tiny machine crossing an endless night. Then, during a routine review of archived communications, researchers noticed something strange. Hidden beneath ordinary telemetry data was a repeating pulse. At first, nobody paid much attention. Deep space communication is messy. Signals travel unimaginable distances. Random interference appears constantly. Engineers assumed the pulse was simply another artifact generated by aging hardware. But the pattern refused to disappear. Every few seconds it returned. Always identical. Always precise. Weeks later, analysts examined older transmissions and discovered weaker versions of the same pulse buried deep within historical records. The farther back they searched, the more examples they found. The signal had been growing stronger. No known malfunction could explain it. Curiosity turned into concern. A specialized team was assembled to investigate the anomaly. Advanced filtering systems stripped away decades of background noise, revealing a structure hidden within the pulse itself. What emerged stunned everyone involved. The signal contained mathematical relationships. Prime numbers. Geometric sequences. Repeating ratios. The kind of organization that should not naturally arise from random cosmic interference. Scientists debated possible explanations. Some believed an unknown astrophysical phenomenon might be responsible. Others suggested a rare interaction between interstellar plasma and Voyager's communication systems. A few proposed a possibility nobody wanted to discuss openly. What if the signal wasn't natural? What if it was intentional? The investigation intensified. Using data from multiple observatories, researchers attempted to determine the source of the transmission. The results were baffling. The signal appeared to be moving. Not drifting. Not orbiting. Moving. Each time scientists calculated its position, they found subtle course changes that defied prediction. The source remained close to Voyager's trajectory, almost as though it were accompanying the spacecraft through interstellar space. The discovery remained classified. Officially, nothing unusual was happening. Unofficially, dozens of experts worked around the clock trying to understand what they were seeing. Months passed. Then the signal changed. Instead of simple pulses, researchers began detecting complex bursts containing layered patterns. Artificial intelligence systems were tasked with analyzing the data. One program discovered something remarkable. The signal appeared responsive. Sections of future transmissions seemed influenced by previous human observations. It was almost as if the source was learning. That conclusion sparked fierce debate. Machines can find patterns where none exist. False positives happen constantly. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yet the evidence continued to accumulate. Every attempt to dismiss the anomaly generated new questions. Then another event occurred. Thousands of miles apart, radio observatories operating independently recorded unusual disturbances arriving from the same region of space. The timing matched perfectly. For the first time, researchers had confirmation that the phenomenon extended beyond Voyager itself. Something existed out there. Something interacting with the spacecraft. The story might have ended there. Instead, it became stranger. One evening, deep space communication stations briefly lost contact with Voyager. Not for hours. Not for days. Only minutes. But those minutes changed everything. When communication resumed, engineers noticed anomalies embedded within the incoming data stream. Nothing was damaged. Nothing appeared corrupted. Yet portions of the transmission contained structures that should not have existed. Fragments of information appeared arranged according to rules nobody recognized. Computer systems identified repeating symbols formed entirely from electromagnetic frequencies. The patterns resembled neither language nor code. And yet they displayed unmistakable organization. Teams around the world examined the data. Linguists studied it. Cryptographers analyzed it. Physicists modeled it. Nobody could explain its purpose. The mystery spread quietly through scientific circles. Rumors began to emerge. Stories of unexplained observations. Reports of unusual radio emissions. Claims that distant instruments had recorded impossible fluctuations in the fabric of interstellar space. Most were impossible to verify. Some were almost certainly false. Yet the original signal remained. Always present. Always repeating. As years passed, the phenomenon became one of science's greatest unsolved mysteries. Then came the observation that changed everything. A next-generation space telescope was directed toward the region ahead of Voyager's path. Researchers expected nothing unusual. Perhaps a cloud of gas. Perhaps a distant object. Instead, the telescope detected a faint reflective structure unlike anything previously catalogued. The object emitted almost no heat. It reflected very little light. Under normal circumstances, it would have remained invisible. Yet there it was. Silent. Motionless. Watching. Follow-up observations revealed something even more unsettling. There wasn't just one object. There were several. They traveled together in precise formation, maintaining exact distances from one another over vast stretches of space. Natural debris could not behave this way. Neither could ordinary asteroids. The formation appeared controlled. Engineered. Artificial. News of the discovery never reached the public. At least not officially. But information has a way of escaping. Whispers spread through academic communities. Anonymous reports surfaced online. Leaked documents hinted at a growing concern among researchers. Nobody knew what the objects were. Nobody knew where they came from. Nobody knew whether they were connected to the signal. Yet the timing was impossible to ignore. The deeper humanity looked into the darkness, the more questions emerged. Then, one final anomaly occurred. For a brief period, observatories around the world recorded a sudden drop in background radio noise. Not a complete disappearance. Just enough to attract attention. Enough to make scientists pause. Enough to make them wonder whether something immense had briefly passed between Earth and the distant universe. The event lasted only minutes. Then everything returned to normal. No explanation was ever confirmed. Today, Voyager 2 continues its journey beyond the known frontier. Its faint transmissions still cross the void, traveling for hours before reaching Earth. Most contain ordinary engineering data. Temperatures. Voltages. Status reports. Yet buried within those whispers remains a mystery nobody has solved. Perhaps the anomaly is merely a natural phenomenon waiting to be understood. Perhaps it is evidence of physics humanity has yet to discover. Or perhaps, somewhere in the darkness between the stars, something noticed a tiny machine carrying a message from Earth. And after decades of silence, it finally decided to answer. Voyager continues onward. The signal continues with it. And the universe remains far larger, and far stranger, than anyone ever imagined.